I recently read an article about 4-year-old Dylan Stitch. Dylan's family had been trying all summer to convince him to jump off the diving board at the in-ground pool at their house, but Dylan wasn't having any of it. He had no desire to try. One day, Dylan's 95-year-old neighbor, Daniel, overheard Dylan's family trying to get him to jump off the diving board at a pool party they were having. Daniel had been in the Air Force during World War II and the Korean War, and he was able to understand Dylan's fear. So he decided to help. This 95-year-old man grabbed his cane, borrowed a swimsuit, and got up on the diving board, something he hadn't done in 50 years. One of Dylan's family members recalled, everyone kind of held their breath and got real nervous, like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Daniel said, I was up there that far, so I figured I may as well go through with it. And he did, and his courage inspired Dylan to overcome his fear and jump off the diving board. What Daniel did for Dylan in that moment was thoughtful, purposeful, and sacrificial. Daniel thoughtfully considered what Dylan was feeling in that moment, and he used the courage he developed in the Air Force to help Dylan. The way Daniel helped Dylan was also very purposeful. He provided for Dylan what he needed most in that moment. And Daniel also sacrificed to do what he did. The person who wrote the article I read correctly stated that Daniel's lesson in courage could have easily become a lesson in first aid, but thankfully it didn't. That brings to mind a question for all the grandparents watching this show today. Are you intentionally investing in your grandchildren in a similar way that Daniel invested in his neighbor Dylan? Are you thoughtfully aware of what each of your grandchildren are experiencing in their lives right now? Are you purposefully trying to meet them where they are in life and help them in the ways that they need most? And are you seeking ways to sacrificially love and serve and teach them so that you can point them more fully to Jesus? Are you intentionally sharing your faith, your experiences, and your wisdom with your grandchildren for the purpose of helping them become better prepared for an eternity with Jesus? I'm so glad that you joined us for today's show because we're going to learn about one ministry that's working to help grandparents positively answer those questions so that they can make a big spiritual impact in the lives of their grandchildren. You're watching One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring hope and purpose to many. Let's go meet our guests for today. We're here today with John and Paula Quigley to learn more about what it means to be an intentional grandparent. John and Paula, it's so nice to have you on the show. I have a deep love for you as friends, as a mentor, John, in a lot of ways, and just the encouragement you have been to me as a pastor and in my transition to men's ministry. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Great.
Thank you for having us.
Good to see you.
Awesome. Mutually lovable. I love it. So tell us a little bit as we start just about yourself and your family.
Sure. Paul and I came to Christ in our early 20s. We're essentially first generation born again Christians, both of us. So, didn't have a lot of, here's what you do from a family structure standpoint. But we've been discipled, and then currently we're members of Calvary Baptist Church in Easton. I'm involved there as an elder and an adult Sunday school teacher. I've been involved in apologetics ministries, and I teach apologetics and worldviews currently. So we've been married for 40 years now.
Yes.
God's blessed us with 5 children, ages coming up on 32 to 25. Mm-hmm. He's also blessed us with 4 grandchildren, ages 3, 2, 1, and 7 months.
Wow.
So we're still relatively new at the grandparent thing, but really enjoying it.
And similar to coming to Christ and then needing to learn how to do this well, this is the first time you've been grandparents, right? So you can tell us a little bit about Legacy Coalition and what it's about, how you got involved.
Yeah. So during COVID, actually, a friend of mine texted me and said, hey, my church is doing this class on grandparenting. Do you want to join in? And I was like, well, I'm not a grandparent yet, but yeah,
I want to be ready.
I want to be ready. So it was a Zoom class, actually. But they invited me in. It was at Grace Church, and they invited me in, and I learned so much. I was so thankful that I had like more resources and tools to work with besides, I want to be that fun grandma, you know? And it actually helped me along the way with like prep for the first grandchild. You know, I was able to go and paint the furniture and just pray over the room. And I actually, one of my favorite songs was the blessing song. And I just sang that at the top of my lungs when I was painting, you know? So it was like,
do you have any videos of that?
I do not. Okay. Thankfully. But, you know, it was like I didn't know it, but I was already, you know, praying that over my grandchild before he even came. So, yeah, so that's how I got involved. And then, you know, I started telling him about everything I was learning.
She dragged me into it.
And she dragged you into it. That's great. Yeah. And, you know, I really appreciate what Legacy Coalition is doing. And I haven't seen, you know, as a pastor, I haven't seen a lot of resources for grandparents. So, but biblically, we see this regularly kind of endorsed by God to his people. What does the Bible say about intentional grandparenting?
Well, there's a tragic scene in Judges chapter 2. You know, the Israelites have come through the desert. They've seen miracles. They've seen the pillar of fire, you know, and the pillar of smoke, and God's provision and God's judgment in all that time. And Judges chapter 2 talks about how a generation arose that didn't know the Lord, followed by them doing evil, and then God, you know, getting into the whole Judges, which is one tough lesson after another of what that looks like, acted out before a holy God. So, and the really bad part about that is when you look at Deuteronomy 4, Deuteronomy 2, where God commands, as Paula referenced, the mandate, teach your sons and your sons' sons, your grandkids, about all these things. So, you know, the question became, or should become, who messed up?
Yeah.
You know, how did that happen?
And one generation away in Judges, right?
Yeah.
From everybody turning.
Right.
Wow.
So, you know, we should be asking ourselves that question. Are we going to be the generation that messes up? Are we going to drop the ball on this whole thing? I mean, boy, I hope not. I mean, that's why we really love the Legacy Coalition. Number one, it reminds us of all of that, and it gives us encouragement and specific ideas and of how to go about doing that kind of thing.
Yes.
So
that's fantastic. We're going to take a quick break, and then we can dive into the ways that Legacy Coalition is equipping grandparents. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to learn more about how we can become intentional grandparents so that we don't go through a Judges 2 situation again.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
Welcome back to One Day Closer. We're here with John and Paula Quigley learning about Legacy Coalition and intentional grandparenting. So John and Paula, as we left off, we were just talking about the danger of the fact that we see in Judges 2 that we're one generation away from kids turning away from Christ, and then the responsibility and privilege we have as grandparents to share with not only our children, but our children's children. I appreciate Legacy Coalition. I think a lot of people think grandparenting is a time to slow down and relax, but they say it's not slow time, it's go time. Yep. So tell me a little bit about what that means as far as what's go time about it? What's intentional about the way they present that?
Yeah, well, I'll go into a little background. Larry Fowler is the founder of Legacy Coalition, and his whole purpose is to equip grandparents to be intentional, biblical grandparents. And he just speaks to so many things, but later on, retired, you want to kick back and go golfing and go on trips and stuff like that, or just lay around and do nothing. And his thing is like, it's go time.
Yes.
It's, the things that you didn't get to do with your kids and your grandkids before, or your kids before, and then to pass on that biblical intentionality with them. You have so much more time to do that.
Yes.
And he's like, it's like the race. You're running that race, and you push it to the end, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're mandated to do that biblically, and that's I just love that about Legacy Coalition, and they just say don't sit down and let it go. It's go time.
Yes.
Yeah, we're both recently retired now as well. So, and we're actually not taking it easy, for better or worse sometimes. But the whole point of the word legacy in Legacy Coalition, what do you want your legacy to be? Is it you just want to sit back and hope everybody had a good time while you're around, or do you really want to have an impact on the world around you, but especially on the people that you love the most, your grandkids, your kids? What kind of spiritual impact are you going to have on those? And that's where the real pointed encouragement comes from with this whole program.
Yes, yeah, I love that question. What kind of spiritual impact do you want to have? And I think grandparents often have the most experience, the most wisdom, the most time if they're retired, and one of the least used and most needed resources in the local church. And so I appreciate that Legacy is helping with that. What are some of the resources? So they have a grandparenting summit annually, which I think is the only grandparenting summit or convention or conference in the nation.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the summit they do every year. It's not. At the end of this year, they decided to do it in February of 2025. And it literally is having speakers come in, doctors and professors, and sharing what they know in their field to speak to grandparents and to challenge them and to equip them in their field with resources and knowledge that they have that we could use for our kids and our grandkids.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah.
And it sounds like they do a great job. So they also have courses that you could take a grandparenting course.
Yes, there's actually 3 of them now.
3 of them, okay.
Yeah.
And they kind of go in order,
Yes,
building on each other?
Yes.
That's excellent. And then the Grand Monday nights.
Yes.
So it sounds, once again, similar to the conference. They're bringing in specialists in certain areas to really equip grandparents.
Yes, and that is able to be more diverse. It's usually an hour long on Monday nights. You can sign up for free for it, and they bring these folks in to share again in their field of knowledge. But it's neat that they have 15 minutes before, they have testimony time, and then they have afterwards questions for the person who actually was doing the Grand Monday night.
Wow.
So yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's like a podcast. I mean, you can go back and watch other episodes, and it's online. So it really is very
easily
useful.
accessible and available. And tell me, going back to the grandparenting summit, there was God showed up in a really exciting way. One woman had been separated from her grandson, was it, for many years? Yes. And tell me what happened at the summit.
He was pretty estranged from the whole family, actually. And when you came in and registered, we had a prayer box, and we had such an awesome prayer team. And they actually didn't even get to see the summit. They were in the prayer room praying over all of these requests that people had. Wow. And I'm getting goosebumps now. At the end of the first day, it was a day and a half actually, and at the end of the first day, this lady ran up to me and just said, "Oh my word, we just heard from my grandson, and we haven't heard from him in 2 to 3 years." Wow, are you kidding? I mean, it was just
during the
during the
conference,
God answered that prayer, and it was amazing.
How powerful the prayer, and not just that, but Legacy's heart to really build a community of grandparents that are doing this together.
Yes.
Right? It can feel very lonely. It can seem hard. Talk to me about how Legacy can help the grandparents. So there are a lot of grandparents that are estranged from grandchildren, or perhaps their kids have strayed and they don't want anything to do with grandparents sharing Christ with the kids. How can Legacy help with that?
Yeah, they actually have a resource. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
They actually have a resource. It's called Ask Dr. Joni.
Okay.
And she literally will discuss those situations with the grandparent and give them good resources and tools to use to talk with the children or grandchildren about. So that's like a great tool that grandparents could use.
Yes.
There's also so many resources that Legacy Coalition provides. There's grandparenting from a distance, discipling your grandchildren, the Let's Talk cards,
Yes.
which also was a great benefit to a woman at the summit as well. So, yeah, it's amazing what they can offer.
It was interesting in one of the teachings that they offer on that particular aspect, the difference between controlling. How do you influence people?
Yeah.
And when they're your little kids, you pretty much have to control them. No, you're not allowed to go on the street, kind of thing.
So much easier.
But
Because you're bigger, right?
right, exactly. Because I said so. Yeah. But as kids get older, you need to have a relationship to have influence. So if your kids, the relationship isn't good with your kids, it's not going to go great. You're not going to get very far in a lot of cases. So how to release some of that control and try to build the relationship so that you can still have an influence. The way they unpacked that, I thought was really, really helpful in some of their teachings. So.
That's powerful. It's not just teaching you how to connect with your grandkids, but how to interact and influence your kids, regardless of how the relationship is at that time.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And let's talk about the Let's Talk cards, because I love this idea. So we've got grandparents. Now it seems like things are changing at warp speed from generation to generation. So you've got some grandparents who are like, I don't even know where to start with my grandchild. Tell me about the Let's Talk cards.
Yeah, so we had a gal or a grandmother at the conference also who picked up her granddaughter every day from school, and the granddaughter would sit in the back seat on her phone, wouldn't say a word to her. So she bought the Let's Talk cards and just left them on the seat. And the granddaughter got in.
And they're really colorful.
They're colorful.
They look really, enticing. You want to grab them.
Yep. And she picked it up and she's like, well, what are these? And the grandmother didn't say anything. She goes, just flip to something and ask me a question. That's what it's for. Wow. And she was like, okay. So she flipped open and again, I believe it was God ordained, to the question. Okay, it says, tell me how you came to know Christ and what that did in your life.
Wow, that's the question.
That was the question. And she had 15 minutes to talk to her. Wow. And she shared that the next day she picked her up. And the granddaughter's like, Grandma, where's those cards? And
she was craving that conversation.
I want to ask you another question. And it's so cool. Wow. Yeah, that opened up an avenue for her to start developing that relationship with her granddaughter. Wow. Yeah.
That's really amazing. Instead of spending all the time looking at a phone. We see this in study after study. Kids are on their devices, but they're disconnected relationally, and they're craving that. So now you've got a exciting and way where they don't have to try and push to make it happen. It's an invitation to let the kids. Yeah. I really appreciate that. As we have about a minute left, tell me about, I appreciate how Legacy is really focused on prayer and the importance of prayer. So tell me about praying the blessing over your grandkids.
Yeah, so the blessing is, again, that song is out there. So if, people don't know it, but it's also biblical. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. It's a blessing that we can pour over our grandchildren when they nap or when they leave us. And, as they get older, the breakdown of that, the focus of that prayer is favor, protection, enlightenment, grace, approval, and inward peace. If you break all that down, so you're praying that over your grandchild. And as they get older, some grandparents that we know, their grandchildren are like, wait, Grandpa, I got to get the rest of the kids, before you give the blessing.
Wow.
And they run and they get them, and some of them, like the parents, don't approve of, talking about Jesus or whatever, but the kids want the blessing.
Yes.
So.
Talk about a spiritual legacy.
Yeah.
That they're craving that blessing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And I love just the idea of asking the question, for all the grandparents watching, do you have a plan? What is it? Is it working? So this is powerful. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing about Legacy Coalition.
Absolutely.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back to talk about how we can use this in our lives.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
In Deuteronomy chapter 4, Moses attempts to prepare the people of Israel to enter the promised land. He says this in verse 9, "Only take care and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life. Make them known to your children and to your children's children," your grandchildren. We see here a very clear command that Moses gives to God's people, the nation of Israel, to tell their children and grandchildren what God has done for them in the past for the purpose of preparing them to enter the promised land in the future. Similarly, grandparents today have the incredible privilege and responsibility to share with their grandchildren who God is and how He has shown up in their lives in so many ways in the past for the purpose of preparing them for an eternity with Jesus. God wants you to become an intentional grandparent who is making an eternal investment into the lives of your grandkids. And no matter how you did with this yesterday, remember that tomorrow is a new day. It's a blank page with nothing yet written on it. God is for you, God is with you, and God has great plans and purposes for you in the lives of the grandchildren He has chosen to specifically give to you and you alone. When the sun rises on the next new day, what story of intentional grandparenting are you going to be writing with your one day closer to eternity? Here are some steps that you can take today to begin making a bigger spiritual impact in the lives of your grandchildren tomorrow. First, get alone with God right after this program ends. Make a list of all your grandchildren and pray that God reveals to you how each of them most needs you right now in their lives. Second, answer these questions for each of your grandkids. I encourage you to write down the answers next to their name and use this as a prayer card for them. What is this grandchild experiencing in their life right now? How can I purposefully meet them where they are and help them in the ways they need most? What can I sacrifice in my life right now so that I can more fully point them to Jesus? Third, I want you to visit legacycoalition.com and check out the wonderful resources they have to help you make a bigger spiritual impact in the lives of your grandchildren. Thank you so much for joining us for One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring Jesus-infused hope and purpose to those around us.